What is up, heroes of Dominion? My name is Charlie. This is Hero Wars Central, and Dante is a problem. Dante is a really strong physical attacker, providing his own defenses in the form of a massive dodge buff to his allies and the ability to spam his skills over and over and over again. But how do you defeat him? How do you kill him? How do you take care of teams like this? Especially because they're going to come to your server if they have not already.
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Let's first talk a little bit about Dante's skills. This is the Hero Wars calculator. I'll link it in the description box down below if you would like. But this is a completely maxed out red +2 Dante, just for the sake of discussing his skills and abilities. Instrument of Fate is the ultimate ability. He throws 4 spears at the enemies, dealing physical damage and pushing them back. Pushing them back is one of the keys to defeating Dante, by the way. We'll get to that in just a second. Foresight is a 5-second dodge buff for his allies, for him and his allies. You can see that it's 11,386 at max. The artifact weapon provides a dodge buff of just under 9,000. So between his artifact weapon buff, which he's going to spam his ultimate quite a bit because, you know, as a dodge hero, he gains energy a little bit faster if you are hitting him, plus his foresight ability that procs, you know, every 10, 12, 15 seconds. I'm not sure what the cooldown is for this. Him and his allies are going to have a lot of dodge. Then you have this: when dodging damage over a certain percentage of health, in this case it's 5%, another spear gets thrown at the enemy. And then finally, when a spectral spear from Instrument of Fate or Retribution hits an enemy, Dante decreases the target's main stat by 5 seconds, further increasing his ability to dodge against the enemy team and the rest of his allies' ability to dodge, I guess, given the dodge stat bonus. Now, between that and his dodge and health stat, he's just, I mean, you can have him as a tank, you can have him as, you know, a primary damage dealer, you can have him as a DPS support. This is the Facebook and web version of the game, and while the mobile version of Dante is very similar, very strong as well, the mobile version of the game doesn't benefit from the bonus dodge to energy thing. Hero Wars Facebook and web, every time a hero dodges, the damage that they would have taken gets converted into energy instead, just like they had been hit with an actual attack, whereas on mobile, there is not that function. So Dante on mobile is significantly weaker overall, and you can counter him with just, you know, just about any pure damage or magic damage kind of hero. Now, my server does not have a ton of Dantes in the top 10 of Arena, but they do exist. Witchy Raven, of course. You're going to see Witchy Raven's fight in just a second. Squirrely One is another with Dante tank. You know, there's a couple of Dantes in the arena, but some servers on Facebook and web are just filled with Dante teams or Rufus Dante teams or some variant thereof. But in today's matchup, I'm going to show you specifically how to counter a Dante lineup using 2 to 3 specific heroes. And the first thing that you can kind of use against Dante is to just bring your own Dante. Are you gonna level up a hero just because everybody else is? Is that what's happening here? Well, of course, we know in mirror matches, whoever has the slightly weaker version of that damage dealer usually wins out, and that may be the case in the fight that I'm about to show you. But if you have somebody to protect your team with dodge buffs, like Dante can do, it's just a more effective counter. It's just a more natural, effective counter. So then you have this situation where your Dantes are kind of countering each other to an extent, and then the rest of the lineup kind of matters. The rest of the heroes that you bring to the fight kind of matter. And that, again, kind of plays into what heroes that the enemy is using in their lineup, which we'll discuss when we actually take a look at the fight in just a second. Now, specifically, if the enemy is not using Dante as a tank, then you use Dante as a tank to guarantee that your Dante will ult faster. All right, every time everybody uses a basic attack, with the exception of like Celeste and Satori, who uses magic damage as their basic attacks, every round of basic attacks is 5 chances for Dante to dodge as a tank. And if you have the ability to keep a Dante tank alive versus a team that's not using Dante as a tank, your Dante will go off first. Therefore, your dodge buff goes up first. Therefore, the rest of your team has a chance to dodge the enemy Dante's spears whenever they get thrown. Dante versus Dante, in a way, kind of cancels each other out. Now, short of using that, there is another hero that a lot of people are going to use against Dante that's very effective, and that's Dorian. Now, because of Dante's pushback using his spears, he will push all of your team further to the back until you're all stacked on Dorian. Of course, Dorian's vampiric aura makes him the absolute best healer in the game, and this is without contention whatsoever. It is absolutely factual that if your entire team is standing in Dorian's aura, generally speaking, that is the best healer setup that you can have. So the enemy Dante pushes your team back onto your Dorian, your Dorian's vampiric aura. It doesn't matter how strong your Dorian is. You can, as long as this vial ability is maxed out at 90, then your whole team will gain 115% vampirism, and you can use that to stay alive long enough to defeat the enemy team. Ideally, hopefully, right? It's just like having a permanent heal based on as much damage as your team does. Of course, if your heroes don't do damage, like Sebastian doesn't do that much damage, Nebula really doesn't do a lot of damage, then those heroes are going to have a lot of trouble because they don't actually do damage. So the vampirism self-heal does not really work. And then the last little thing that you're going to see is a combination of Heidi and Iris. Now, the thing about Heidi is he has the ability to dodge some damage as well as dishing out a ton of pure damage. If you can keep Heidi alive, and in this instance, he's in the 3rd position, so he's going to be taking a lot of those hits from Dante, and therefore dodging a lot of those hits and ulting very quickly. Heidi pushes out a lot of pure damage, a ton of pure damage, if he's spamming his ult like other heroes can spam their ult. And because he does area of effect damage, he's going to synergize really well with the hero Iris, who, a lot of people are bringing to counter specific tanks, to counter specific lineups that are very tanky, like a Marcus tank in this instance, or a Dante tank. The best way to kill a dodge hero is using pure or magic damage. Iris's expose soul ability will expose Dante's or whoever else's soul, including Rufus, though you have to have another way to kind of finish Rufus off, of course. This ability doesn't actually do the damage until that soul breaks, right? So having the ability to do a lot of really fast damage that's unmitigated, that is Heidi's pure damage that hits the entire enemy team, to get that soul to break quicker, that's going to help you to counter those really tough to kill Dante's or tank plus Dante or whatever. So let's go take a look at this fight. I will put a link to the fight in the description box down below, but as you know, links to fights don't last forever. So if you're watching this video, in the next week or so, you might be able to watch the fight yourself. But if you are, watching this video a year from now or something, then obviously it'll disappear. So you can see that Raven is 763,000 versus Reeves 868,000. Obviously it's a victory, but you can kind of take a look at the lineup here. Dante tank versus Dante not tank, right? Heidi for the spamming of the damage using Albus there. Iris to counter the Marcus, because this Marcus is just a thick boy. Very, very strong tank. Dorian, like I mentioned, and Sebastian is to counter that enemy Jorgen. You can see that this lineup does not care at all about the enemy Sebastian. There is absolutely no status effects that are mandatory, that are required in order to win this fight. However, Sebastian is still a good choice on defense, but since I don't really have any of those, mandatory debuffs on the attacking side, the Sebastian's kind of a wasted hero in this regard. And not to say that Sebastian is a bad choice, I think Sebastian's still probably one of the best choices. This lineup in particular is a little bit more of a defensive lineup using 2 counter heroes in Sebastian and Isaac. But let's watch the fight, and I'll kind of talk through it as we go, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. So the attacking Dante being the tank will ult first. That's the play. So he yep, there goes the first one. So his dodge buff is active, and he's just going to start giving the entire attacking team energy once the enemy Dante starts ulting, and the enemy Isaac was quickly defeated. Just going to keep spamming. Then you can see that Heidi is going to start popping off. This is the second time Iris has ulted. Dorian died, so it doesn't matter. Now, unfortunately, since Dante versus Dante, my line won't get pushed back, but staying alive long enough to expose that soul and then, finish it off using the spears, all of that. It ends up, Sebastian ends up dying, but that's okay because the enemy Jorgen is already dead. And then, just a little bit more Dante action to finish it off. A great technical fight there, and you do not necessarily need to have all 3 or 5 of these heroes leveled up in order to counter Dante teams. That's not the point at all. I'm just discussing the strategy that Raven here used. The Dante versus Dante to kind of cancel each other out is a completely valid strategy, and it'll probably exist forever. So you may want to start considering leveling up Dante, if for no other reason than everybody else is. And then, of course, the whole Dorian, Heidi, and then the Heidi and Iris synergy, and then, the Sebastian to counter the enemy Jorgen, and Isaac, if he ever got a silence off, and all that is definitely beneficial. If you found this discussion helpful and you'd like to see more like it, please definitely let me know in the comment section down below. Maybe give me some ideas on, hero lineups or heroes in particular that you'd like to see countered with, high level. This isn't max testing. This is an actual fight. right? This is high level gold league, force on force, as it were. Let's go ahead and do a sweepstakes drawing. If you'd like to win some of the legendary gift boxes that I have available to give away, all you have to do is be a Facebook and web player, leave a comment on my Facebook and web specific videos, and we draw names a couple of times per week for the winner. Then you need to get a hold of me over on Discord to select and receive your prize. 123 comments on this one. R2 Milanen, congratulations. Thank you so much for participating. On screen now, I have two fantastic videos. One that I think is going to be incredibly beneficial if you're going up against enemy Rufuses, and the second one is going to discuss my thoughts on Leon. Should you level her up? And in my opinion, you absolutely should. Please check those out. Hope everybody's going to have a great day. I love you all. Good luck in Dominion.